Is the brand new Arrma Typhon Grom worth your $140? In this video, we're gonna find out. The new Grom is about 1/14 scale. It's based on the same platform as the Arrma Granite Grom. As you can see here, it's just a little bit longer. That's because it has a longer chassis. It is not quite as wide, but that's just down to the wheels. And because of its smaller wheels and smaller body, it sits down quite a bit lower. This is a clipless body, and I think this is probably the best clipless body I've ever seen. You just push this tab in, lift up, and it pulls right off. It has a really easy to insert tab in the back, and it clips right back down in the front. Very, very easy. A lot easier than the Granite Grom's system. This has an exposed front shock tower. These shocks are the same oil-filled full plastic ones as the Granite Grom, just with different color caps. It does have a different little front bumper here. It's got a nice, solid feeling rear wing on a unique rear wing mount, and then a little bumper here in the rear. Under the hood, we've got the same 25 amp 2-in-1 ESC. However, this is also running a fan here to cool this motor. These stock motors do get pretty hot, and we're gonna see just how hot it gets when we take it out and do a speed run off-road and do some bashing here in a little bit. Hopefully this fan will help keep it cooler. Now, if you're interested in seeing this thing with some real power, make sure you stay tuned, because in the next video, we're gonna be putting this Mamba Micro X2 in here and trying it out on 4S. Speaking of the battery, this comes with a 1400 milliamp hour battery. This is one of Spectrum's Smart G2 batteries, so you don't have a balance lead on here. And you can only charge it with a Spectrum Smart charger. It does include this little USB charger, and they've been nice enough to include an adapter, which they didn't have on the Granite Grom. I found that this charger didn't work with all power supplies on USB-C, so this should help with that. I'm really curious to see if anything's different in this drivetrain, and if getting these differentials out is any harder than on the Granite Grom. Let's get these tires off and take a look. Arrma supplies this really nice wrench with these cars, as well as another tool to use for taking these apart. While I'm taking this apart, if you like deep dives into these vehicles, make sure you get subscribed. We've got the new Team Co Rally Synchro 4 coming, and it is gonna be really awesome. I cannot wait to take that thing apart and do a deep dive into what makes it tick. These tires are fairly similar in composition to the Granite Grom tires. They don't have foams in them. The tires themselves are vented, and they're very lightweight, which should be good for this drivetrain. We can see that the front and rear hubs are identical to the Granite Grom. These front and rear axles are steel, but the outdrives and output cups are plastic, and the arms are plastic as well, and are the same design as on the Granite Grom. One thing I'm really curious to see is how they made up for this additional length in the chassis. Let's pull this cover off and take a look. One of the benefits of this car over one of the Amazon special brands is that all of the hardware is hex hardware. It's almost all 2mm, and most of it is the same size. That makes working on these much, much easier. Looks like Horizon got a little bit smarter and didn't put the sticker on the joint between these two parts. Here we can see the motor mount, and pinion. To go along with the super powerful castle system, we're going to be using this adjustable motor mount from GPM in the next video. It looks like they've actually added the extra length in two different places. We've got an extension here, and it looks like this center drive shaft is longer. I would have expected one or the other, not both. They probably did this for weight and balance reasons, though. Taking a look at this front bumper, it looks like it's going to be even easier to get this differential out than it is on the Granite Grom. Let's check that out. To avoid breaking it, you do want to take this little nose off first. And we should just be able to pull this bumper off, and it comes off with the differential cover. This is one of the huge benefits of this platform. 9 screws, and we're into the differential. One other change we have from the Granite Grom are these teeny tiny little shock cap protectors. These are really nice to have when this thing lands upside down on concrete. As you can see here, unfortunately, we do have the same exact differentials. These have metal gears on the outside, but plastic gears on the inside, and the real weak point of these differentials seems to be these output cups. The ears will break off on the inside. We do have an upgraded set of differentials ready to go in this thing when we put big power to it, though. Before we take this thing for a blast, I want to see what these big tires are going to look like on here. What do you think? Monster Truggy? I don't know, guys. That looks pretty silly, but we might just have to try it in the next video. But for now, I'm going to finish putting these stock tires back on, charge up that battery. I'll see you outside. Let's see just how fast the little Typhon is. Feels pretty stable. We'll give her one more pass. All right, let's bring it in and check. So 22 miles an hour, that is not too bad. Pretty much what I expected for this on brushed. I'm really excited to see what it can do 4S on brushless. Let's get back to bashing. So is the new Typhon Grom worth your $140? The answer isn't very easy to give. First of all, this car is very good quality. It's going to stay together very well on stock power for the kind of bashing that it actually can do. It has a very convenient body latching system. The new fan keeps the motor nice and cool. One thing about air movement is it doesn't take a lot to make a big difference, and this fan makes a big difference on this stock motor. It runs pretty well for what it is. It does 22 miles an hour, but it's got some pretty stiff competition. Just taking a quick look online, we can see we have a Rlaarlo, a WL Toys, and some other brands of cars that are going to be the same size. They're going to be brushless. They're going to have all metal drivetrains, and on the surface are going to represent a better value. So what makes this a better value than those other cars that have so many more features for basically the same price? There are a few things. First of all, the build quality. This car is going to be higher build quality than those vehicles are. The plastics are better, everything fits better, and just in general, you're gonna have an easier time working on these and upgrading them. Working on them is a big deal. You've got just a few screws to take just about any part of this car apart, whereas on some of those other vehicles, you can be looking at upwards of 30 screws, sometimes of 6, 7, or 8 different kinds. That can be a real pain. You won't be dealing with that with this car. Upgrades and parts availability are also a big deal. I should be able to say that with this car, parts availability is no problem, but people have been struggling to get some of the common parts for the Granite Grom, and the Typhon Grom is basically the same vehicle. I don't expect it to be a problem for forever, but it has been a problem so far. That really cuts down one of the biggest benefits of this. The other big benefit's gonna be upgrades. You've got a ton of different companies making upgrades for these, and you know those upgrades are gonna be available for a long time, and some of them are very, very high quality. Speaking of upgrades, don't forget we're gonna be doing some ultimate upgrades to this car in the next video, so you definitely aren't gonna wanna miss that. So, should you buy the Typhon Grom? I'm gonna say maybe. There are a lot of other options out there at the same price point, and it's hard to ignore those options. If you really, really like this car, if you want that 2-year warranty, and you really like having as many upgrade options as possible, go with this buggy. If you wanna get the best bang for the buck right out of the gate and aren't necessarily concerned with having the vehicle for years and years, and are thinking of it as more of a throwaway toy, one of those other options might be something you wanna consider. Another thing you wanna consider is subscribing to this channel, and then watching one of these videos.